I guess, bottom line of what we were doing. What are we doing?
As in what? Historically, or what we're doing today?
Historically, like what exactly would the engineer office entail? Like, what would your duties partake?
Well, our regiment, 1st New York Engineers, we're combat engineers. All our personnel are trained as infantry first, and then we're also professionals. Construction work predominantly, bridges, houses, buildings, and that. And then as field engineers, we help the Army get from point A to point B. Building the bridges, building roadways where we need it, corduroy roads through the swampy land, stuff like that. And then destroying the fortifications or building a fortification. The unique situation of the 1st New York Engineers, our first time in combat was at Secessionville,
Okay.
outside of Charleston. And we actually went into the battle as engineers, with weapons slung and picks and axes and that, to break through the Confederate line. But because field maneuver needed immediate infantry troops to change the tactical situation, we dropped tools, unslung muskets, and went in as infantry.
Wow.
So that was the first time in combat for the 1st New York Engineers, and it was also displayed the combat engineer aspect.
Okay.
Not only were we out there as engineers, but we immediately switched over and became infantry.
Now, is the New York the only battalion that's known for that, or is that kind of like all in? Okay.
1st New York Engineers was the first ones that came out that way. Until that, engineers were senior officers, or officers and senior enlisted. The junior enlisted were with each company of infantry. They were called pioneers.
Okay.
And each company of infantry would have 8 pioneers in that company. So out of the 100 men or 80 men in the company, 8 would be pioneers. 4 for the first section, 4 for the second section.
Okay. And were they like private citizens or actually
No,
military?
military.
Military? Okay. Were there any engineers that were private citizens?
Yeah, but they were not. Yes, they were, but they weren't actually out in the front lines.
Okay.
They were doing things like construction work at St. Augustine with the Fort Marion, or up outside of D.C. and Fort Myers up there in the Virginia Peninsula and that.
Okay. All right, and
All the other engineers would be uniformed, whether they're state volunteers or U.S. engineers.
Okay. And I was wondering if you could show me some of the tools you might use, maybe some instruments of the period.
Our instruments right over here.
Okay.
We're predominantly a surveying company. We have transits, level tables, building tables, levels out here.
Okay.
And then we have axes in slings, shovels and slings.
Okay.
And that's how the soldier would carry his tool into battle.
Okay.
He would have that along with his weaponry.
Really? That's
Yeah,
a lot of.
that's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight. And could you do maybe just a quick explanation of exactly what this tool does, what this equipment does?
This is an American Transit.
Okay.
It's used for construction work of surveying land. We could use it for laying roadways, building bridges, building fortifications. And actually, let's say building a structural building, let's say of a bridge or a fortification or just a building, we would use what's called a planing table